Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, and this week joining us from Finland is Kirsi Sahlstén. Hey Kirsi, welcome to the show.
Hi Vasco, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I met Kirsi quite a while back, and I was quite surprised that we didn't end up recording before today, but hey, that's how it sometimes goes. So Kirsi is, she calls herself a wannabe neuroscientist, and she's also a full stack developer who in real life ended up as an Agile coach. She is passionate about sparking and enabling learning and unlearning. We'll talk more about that, of course, during this week, working together across boundaries and focusing on the essential. Her favorite question is why, and she's fascinated by the complexity of simplicity. That's a very nice way to put it, Kirsi. That was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Thanks, Vasco. Yeah, I'm actually, I need to correct a bit that I'm a wannabe neuroscientist and a wannabe full stack developer, never coded. So I kind of admire both of those occupations. So that's why I said I wannabe of those. But I actually, in real life, ended up being an Agile coach. So I have been working as a Scrum Master as well on the side, a little bit, but mostly as Agile coach. And how I ended up an Agile coach actually dates back to 10 years ago when I was at the time returning from maternity leave to my very kind of traditional project manager, like documentation development manager job. I was working in a Finnish metals and minerals processing company at the time. And when I went back, I realized that they had actually abolished the PMO. So there were no more PMO, there were no more internal development projects. And they were establishing Scrum teams at the time in the IT department of the company. And I was like, okay, what I'm going to do? My job doesn't exist anymore. And what is out there? And then somebody mentioned that, well, we are now establishing these Scrum teams and there is this product owner role available. And I was like, okay, sounds interesting. What does it mean? And then I started studying what it actually means and studying Agile and getting to know Agile ways of working and the principles and all of that behind. And I was like, hell yeah, this makes so much sense. Why hasn't everybody been working like this? And it was like revelation at the time. And then I started learning by doing, being a product owner. And then the company IT actually went to scaled Agile framework. And then for a while, I was also a product manager of a release train there. And then there was a time when the company actually started talking about a merger with another one. And Agile wasn't really in the focus of the companies then. So I kind of started thinking about my own career and what I wanted to focus on. And I started studying more Agile, doing certifications, and then I started applying for Agile coach roles and got selected. And here I am.
And I remember we talked about, we met in one of those roles, right? Like when we met the first time, you were taking up Agile coaching in a company that I was helped train at the time.
Exactly. You were giving a course for us on Agile and Lean, and they were actually met for the first time. So when I joined that company, it was I'm really grateful that they actually offered a training, really like an academy type of modular training for Agile coaches, and that was
absolutely
awesome.
It's not an
and
easy
it was awesome
position.
It's not, and it's you're never ready. It's like
indeed,
constant learning.
Especially when at this particular company is in a more traditional industry, especially when you come to a traditional industry where unlike in this company, usually traditional industries have a very strong project management centric focus, but particularly that organization was actually going quite deep into the agile adoption, which was a very nice thing to see, especially for Finland, which is such a small country that we need all of the competitive advantage we can get. We can't afford using traditional methods that don't really work for at least digital products anymore. So as you started as an agile coach, let's take that role and ask the next question, because of course, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's very hard. And today's Monday here on the podcast, so we want to explore a story of failure. Now, we don't do this because we want to dwell on failure, but rather because we want to learn from that. And we'll talk about all the takeaways and the lessons learned in a minute. But first, Kirsi, tell us that story.
All right. Well, my story of failure is actually I was working along with my kind of regular day-to-day agile coach role. I was coaching an organization that kind of themselves realized that they need to reorganize. So they had a couple of teams that had more than 30 people in them, so really, really oversized. And they had a lot of dependencies between the teams, and they were struggling with the kind of division of responsibilities and all of that. And there were several other reasons, but they actually themselves kind of figured out that they need to reorganize. So I started then, because I was their agile coach, I started kind of facilitating that to get started with the organizing. And it was 120 people, and they wanted to kind of set up into 8 DevOps teams and then 4 enabling teams.
So was that a plan built with the whole team or the whole organization, or how did you come to that plan?
That plan actually, it was built with the business lead and the product owners of that organization, and they did discuss with the teams, but mostly it was that kind of product led, and they were thinking about the customer journey and trying to organize based on that customer journey, and that was like a starting point. And actually, half of the people of that organization were working in another continent, so it kind of added to the complexity.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really make that work. I wanted to facilitate it. I wanted to be the hero facilitation guru and magic maker and make it happen. And I think I let my past former project manager identity loose somehow, and try to facilitate and orchestrate the whole thing alone. And then it started falling apart, myself included, because it's so much people, so big a change that it's not possible for one person to orchestrate that. So there was a really kind of, I started to be emotionally on the brink of exhaustion and all of that. And then I had a wake-up call at that time that, okay, now I have to stop. I cannot do this alone. I need people, and the people who are actually experiencing the change, they have to be working on the change and not me trying to kind of do the whole thing. So then I started just asking for help from people. I was talking to my manager, who was a wonderful support at the time, talking to a couple of really, really wonderful colleagues, and then our DevOps experts team, and then the organization itself, who was undergoing the change. And then we decided with the organization that we're going to kind of gather a change team with representatives from different roles and places, like also geographically. And we ended up setting up a change team and then a change agent network. And we started sprinting with the change team as well, and worked really openly together with everybody and tried to involve everybody in the discussions and used questionnaires to get input and wishes from the people on what they would like to concentrate on when the teams are kind of restructured and so on. And yeah, then it started. Sun started to shine again, and collaboration is really
exactly.
the key.
And I was first of all, it's a great story, and also that aspect of realizing that something is not working, and then having the clarity of mind to say, "Hey, it's not that it's not working because of me. It's not working because it's not possible for anyone to do this alone." And then collecting that coalition of people helping with the change, I think that was a great example of mental sanity, right? Because the opposite, trying to do it alone, would be insanity, which you realize at your own cost, unfortunately. And from that aspect of gathering that coalition, what are a couple of tips, ideas that you can share with our audience about getting that group that can then sprint through the change process?
I noticed that people are really keen on helping, and when people are involved in change, there's a lot of them who actually want to be kind of together on the driver's seat. So it was very easy to find people who wanted to participate. And what we wanted to make sure of is that there was a good representation from different roles and different aspects. So it's like a mini organization of the bigger one, so good representation. And that they all then discuss with their peers and colleagues and teams, and there's a constant flow of information back and forth. When there's such a big organization, then we kind of figured that was a good way. But then along with the change team, there was also this kind of change agent network who were also important, because then they were the eyes and ears of the feelings in the teams. And that was a very important aspect as well. But then sprinting with the change team, that was tricky, because everybody had their regular responsibilities, and basically almost all of the change team members, they were also part of their own Scrum team and working there. So we had to kind of adjust the ceremonies a little bit, but people did dig time from their busy calendars for this, because it was important and it was very intense. So we went through the change quite fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And creating that team of people that want to drive the change together with you, then of course makes it even faster, and more important from our perspective, makes it sustainable, right? Not just sustainable in the sense of we don't burn out, but also sustainable in the sense that the whole organization is part of the change, and the change is much more likely to stay with the organization. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Kirsi.
Thanks, Vasco.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests help their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.